This morning I have a rather simple sermon. Now don't get too excited. I didn't say it was going to be a short sermon. I said simple. For my sermon this morning is about one word, one simple word, which I believe may be the most hopeful word in the entire Bible. Jesus is confronted by grumbling religious leaders. Jesus, why do you insist on hanging out with people who are known sinners? Rumors are flying all over town about you eating and drinking and welcoming some very unsavory characters. And Jesus responds, as Jesus usually responds, by telling a story. And here he actually tells three stories. One about a lost sheep, another about a lost coin, and another about a lost boy. In these wonderful stories, it is here that I believe we find the most hopeful word in the entire Bible. Which word do you think I'm thinking of? What about the word found? Found. Now there's a hopeful word. In each of these stories, there is something or someone that is found. The shepherd finds the lost sheep, and when he found it, he lays it on his shoulders and rejoices. The woman finds the lost coin. Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I had lost. And the father finds his lost son. Let us celebrate, for this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost, but he is now found. Found, it's a wonderful word. For being found is the polar opposite of being lost. Being found means being recognized and accepted, welcomed and affirmed. Being found means coming home to a place where you are loved and appreciated and understood. Being found means receiving salvation. Being found means being completely whole and alive. I spoke to a friend of mine recently. Well, I spoke to him just this past week. He recently lost his job. He moved here from New York to work at the Mars plant. And he said, since receiving the news that he was being let go, I have never felt so lost. As a pastor, I've heard those words before. Since my wife died, I've been so lost. I feel absolutely lost without my husband. Since my doctor gave me the diagnosis, I have been lost. I know I've made many mistakes, and I keep making mistakes. I keep doing the things that I know that I should not do, and I keep refusing to do the things that I know that I need to do. Preacher, I am lost. Fred Craddock loved to tell the story of playing hide and seek with his sister when he was a child. The game where one person is it. You know, they cover their eyes and they count to 100 while the others run and hide. Fred said that when his sister was it, his sister always cheated. 1, 2, skip a few, 97, 98, 99, 100. Ready or not, here I come. But Fred said there was one day when he didn't really care if she cheated because he had picked out the perfect hiding place, under the porch and under the steps of the porch. Completely hidden from sight, he watched his sister search behind the trees, in the barn, in the corn crib. Round and round she searched. He watched as she kept passing him by again and again and again, confident that she would never find him. And he kept saying to himself with glee, she'll never find me here. She'll never find me here. She'll never find me here. Then he says, it dawned on him. She'll never find me here. So he says he stuck out a toe And finally, Fred said, she saw it. "Fred, you're it! You're it!" He said he crawled out muttering, "Oh, phooey, you found me." After telling the story, Craddock asked, "What did I want? To be hidden, yes. But what did I really want? To be found, just as every person in this room." Found, what a hopeful word. For how many of us yearn to be known fully, understood completely, accepted, and loved unconditionally? How many of us yearn for a place that we can call home, where we can be ourselves, where we can reveal all of our flaws, be honest with all of our mistakes, and still be welcomed and affirmed? Found. It's a wonderful word. It's a hopeful word. It is who we are called to be as the church. But it's not the word that I'm thinking of. It's not what I believe may be the most hopeful word in the entire Bible. What about this word, rejoice? Rejoice. Now there's a hopeful word. In each of these stories, there's an awful lot of rejoicing. When the shepherd finds the lost sheep, he lays it on his shoulders and he rejoices. And when he comes home, he calls together all of his friends and neighbors and invites them to a party, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep that was lost." After the woman who lost one of her silver coins turned on every light in the house, swept every square inch until she found it, she called together her friends and her neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I had lost." And who can forget the final story of the lost boy? When the boy is found, the father says to his servants, "Quickly bring out a robe, the very best one, and put it on my boy. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and get the fatted calf and kill it. And let us eat and let us celebrate, for this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." And they began to rejoice together with food and music and dancing. Rejoice. Now there's a hopeful word. Although my friend who lost his job cannot imagine it, someday, somehow, some way, there's going to be a day in his life when there's going to be some rejoicing. One day he's going to get another job. I said to him, "Although you feel like your life is over, you do know, don't you, that with God, it is entirely possible that all these things are going to work together for good." Rejoice. It's an incredibly hopeful word, but it's not the word I'm thinking of. There's another word, a little word, which is found in each of these stories that I believe offers even more hope. Jesus says that the shepherd searches until he finds the lost sheep. The woman searches until she finds the lost coin, and the father waits until the lost boy is found. Each time Jesus tells a parable, he is implying that God is like that. God is like a woman who turns on all the lights in the house, sweeps every square inch, and feverishly searches until she finds it. God is like a shepherd who searches not for an hour, not for 24, 36, or 48 hours, not for a week or a month or even a year, but searches until he finds his sheep. And God is like a father who patiently and graciously waits until his son comes home. The most hopeful word in the entire Bible may be this simple little word, until. The most hopeful good news is that God is going to stay beside the man who lost his job and with his family until he finds another job. God is going to be his friend and his companion until he's able to come home one day and rejoice. God is never going to forsake him, never going to give up on him. God is going to be patiently persistent until. I believe it will do all of us some good as the church to be reminded that no matter our trouble, no matter our mistakes, God is going to stay with us, be with us, and fight for us until. I've always prided myself as a minister as being open-minded. I've even preached sermons about the importance of being open-minded. I've said all of us should be open-minded. And I've chastised people from the pulpit who were hard-headed and stubborn, closed-minded. And I'll never forget, after one such sermon, a worshiper approached me in the narthex and asked, "Well, preacher, don't you think sometimes it's good to be closed-minded?" I said, "No, He said, "Don't you think there are some things that even God is closed-minded about, hard-headed about?" Well, although this man was notorious for being closed-minded, he did have a pretty good point. For the good news is that the God of Jesus is a closed-minded, hard-headed, stubborn God. God is obstinate and unrelenting in God's desire to draw all of us unto God's self. It was a very stubborn, immovable, and inflexible love which propelled Jesus to pick up and carry a cross. And perhaps the most closed-minded statement that was ever made was made from that cross. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." The late L.D. Johnson's wonderful book, The Morning After Death, ends with these words about the stubbornness of God. God can be trusted. In the last analysis, Christians have no more persuasive word. God can be trusted. That does not resolve all of the mysteries or answer all of the questions, but it gives us enough to build our lives around. God is trustworthy. God is the Lord of life and death, and God can be trusted. So you say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. How much longer can I count on God to hold me close? The good news is, until. You say, I keep failing, I keep falling, I keep making the same mistakes over and over. How long will God continue to pick me back up and put me on my feet? The good news is, until. You say, I don't think I'm ever going to get over the loss of my husband. It's been 10 years now. How much longer can I keep calling on God to help me? The good news is, until. You say, although I know that it's wrong, I still find myself doing the same stupid things over and over. How much longer is God going to put up with me? The good news is, until. How long will God keep fighting for me in this battle? How long will God keep protecting me in this storm? Until. How long will God keep working with this church? Keep helping the First Christian Church to be the church that God is calling us to be in this time and place. The good news is, until. How much longer is God going to believe in me and stand by me and make a place for me at God's banquet table where there's going to be endless rejoicing, where life will be full and whole and complete and eternal? How much longer is God going to wait for me to get home? The answer is in the simple yet most hopeful word in the entire Bible: until. Amen.